Hey guys, Triple B here. Some big news coming out today. Actually, just been a big news week in general for the Pokemon trading card game. But today we're getting our first peek at the Pokemon 151 set that's coming out. And we're actually getting to see Kadabra, which if you weren't aware of it, Kadabra hasn't had a card in 21 years. There's a previous article on Pokebeach you can read into a little bit more about it. But essentially there was an illusionist, Uri Geller, and his whole thing was about bending spoons with his mind. Kadabra's whole thing is about bending spoons with its mind, and he basically legally disputed it, so they haven't made a card for 21 years, but he's getting another card now, which is really exciting, because obviously the Spoon Man, you gotta have him. He's in the games, one of the 150 original guys, and I know he's got a special place in a lot of people's hearts, myself included. In Pokemon Soul Silver, he's always on my team, so I'm pretty excited that he's back in the game. To the set news, we are getting a couple reveals here. There's a Mew EX, there's an Alakazam EX, and then we're getting to see the starter Pokemon as well. So we're getting a Bulbasaur. It's going to have 70 HP and the attack Leech Seed, which is its go-to attack when you're first starting out the game. The other interesting thing about this set is they're actually going to have the Pokedex numbers as their set numbers. So Bulbasaur is going to be number 001, Charmander will be 004, and then 007, a little James Bond Squirtle. I like it. But all the Pokemon will essentially be having their signature attacks. Bulbasaur having Leech Seed, Squirtle having Withdraw. You get to flip a coin. If it's heads during your next turn, prevent all damage. And Charmander just, burning down cities. And he's the, he's the Burninator. Don't mess with Charmander. Don't mess with Charmander. Also seeing the Pikachu, it's going to have Charge, so you get to search your deck for a basic Lightning Energy and attach it to this Pokemon. Could be really handy if we get a Raichu EX at some point. Really hoping we get one. Really holding out. We've got a Pikachu EX that's been revealed so far, so I'm sure we'll get a Raichu at some point. The Abra line, though, is kind of what's stealing the show for me, because we haven't seen single prize versions of Abra or Kadabra for quite a while, obviously with the legal stuff around Uri Geller, so it's pretty cool we're seeing them. Abra has Psyshot, does 20 damage for 1 Psychic Energy. Nothing too crazy. It's a little surprising that they didn't give it Teleport, since in the games, that's all it does. It'd be kind of funny if it had like a 0 energy attack that just switches it with your bench or something like that. Evolves into Kadabra that does have Teleport. So you do 30 damage and switch it with one of your guys on the bench. Interesting. It's its first card back. Very cool. And I know there's been a mechanic I've been hoping they'd introduce into the TCG, since in the games, if you trade Kadabra, Machoke, Graveler, they evolve. It'd be cool if they gave them some sort of ability that when they move from the bench to the active or vice versa, you get to search your deck and evolve them. Just, pitching that out there. Maybe TPCI is watching this. If you want to steal that, I wouldn't mind. It'd be pretty cool. And the Alakazam EX, though, that we're getting, very interesting card. Don't want to go too far and show the Mew just yet, but the Alakazam, it's got the attack Mind Jack. It does 90 damage and an extra 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if they've got 5 guys, extra 150, you're doing, what is that, 240? It's all right. You're going to be one-shotting Vs. You're not going to be one-shotting into other EX Pokemon, but it's decent enough damage, and it being a double colorless energy, you can obviously play it with double turbo energy. It's psychic. You can charge it up with Gardevoir if you'd like. It's pretty cool. Its second attack, though, is really interesting, since it's got a mechanic we haven't seen before. Dimensional Manipulation is going to do 120 damage, and you can use this attack even when it's on your bench. Essentially, you could have something like a Klefki in the active, which is going to turn off basic Pokemon abilities, and then have Alakazam sitting on your bench and just sniping things. It's kind of cool, and I'm sure there's going to be some other use cases for it as well. There was that Snorlax we got in Pokemon Go that had block, and your opponent can't retreat. So maybe you put Alakazam on the bench and you're just sniping things off. Snorlax is just locking things in the active. You're making their life difficult. Lots of crushing hammers, removing energy. There'll be someone that'll find a very broken way to play this card, and I'm a little bit scared of the Spoon Man, to be honest. And the Mew EX we're getting as well. So it's got the ability Restart, similar to Oranguru with Instruct. Once during your turn, just draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. Very solid ability. The fact that they're giving it to a 2-prize Pokemon as well, I feel like is a nice way to balance it out. It does have 180 HP too, so not very hard to one-shot. Like even an Arceus V-Star with a double turbo energy can be one-shotting this. Accelerating energy out, getting 2 prizes. The trade-off is you can draw till you have 3 cards. Is it worth it? Probably. Getting cards is always good, but it's just one of those things to be mindful of. It is a small target and very easy to get knocked out. Its attack, though, also pretty epic. Genome Hack, it's going to be 3 colorless energy. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. The attack cost is a little bit high, but there's a lot of ways you can be paying it. Obviously, double turbo energy and attach for turn, or psychic. You can also be running it with Gardevoir, and it's just a one-off attacker you can slot into your deck. So it's like, hey, my opponent's using a guy that's very big, has a very big attack cost, but does a lot of damage. Like, for example, Giratina V-Star, maybe you're up against them. They do 280, Lost Zone energy. It's like, well, just use Mew EX. They try and get that out. It's like, all right, I'm just going to use this, come out and kill him first, doing 280 off a basic Pokemon. It's a little bit silly. And there'll definitely be a lot of use cases for this. Being colorless energy, you can slot it into other decks as well. Water Pokemon could accelerate out water energy. I believe Excalibur can accelerate water energy to any Pokemon, not just water types, but I'll double check that. Probably have it popping up on screen right now for you. We're also getting some interesting trainer cards in the set. So we are getting a new tool card, being Safety Goggles. The basic Pokemon this is attached to doesn't have a weakness. Kind of cool they're making it as a tool card, so it can be removed with things like Lost Vacuum. Tool Jammer will also block this. So it's kind of nice that it's not a special energy as they've previously done, since you would just slot that onto something and it'd be blocked for the game. This way, at least, if you're fully reliant on hitting weakness into things, your opponent can remove it, but then you can also remove their thing that's removing it. I like it. They're doing a lot with the game mechanics currently, and it's adding a lot more depth into the game. We're also getting a new Giovanni's card, Giovanni's Charisma. You get to put an energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon back into their hand. And if you do, you put an energy card from your hand to your active Pokemon. So it's essentially like, nah, you don't need energy, but I do. And I like that. Energy acceleration is great. Disruption is great. Putting them into one thing. That's pretty cool. And the fact that it's on a supporter is a good way to balance it. We do have a lot of Pokemon that draw you cards. The Mew EX we just covered. There's Bibarel, there's Revavroom. So you don't really need to be relying on draw supporters anymore. You can be getting draw support in other ways and then be using your supporters for other needs. So Gust is a really good one. Energy acceleration is a really good one. Targeted search is really good. And it's nice that we're getting a lot of options for those, since they are kind of balancing the way we can do the draw. I think that's it for the cards. They are doing some comparisons from the old school cards to the new ones. So old Bulbasaur, new Bulbasaur, old Charmander, new Charmander. It's very interesting to see the art direction that it's going, and it's kind of humbling. I don't know. Have you been playing the Pokemon TCG since it was released? I want to say almost 30 years ago now. Probably not that old. It came out when I was a kid, and I know we had the 25th anniversary. I don't really want to know that number, but have you been playing around since base set, or do you own any of these cards? I'd love to hear in the comments down below and just kind of see how long everyone's been playing the game, because I know we've got a lot of new players coming in with Scarlet and Violet. It's great for the game. It's good for the community. More players means more events, and we are seeing the return of Pokemon League Cups and League Challenges. I actually just posted a video on that recently, so if you want to check that out, it should be popping up on the screen right now. Till next time, though, take care of yourself.